Hey guys, this is Matt Ramsey with the Octave Higher East Voice Studio in Austin, Texas, and this is episode 4 of Octave Higher TV, and it starts now. Well guys, we've got a fantastic question this week from Alice Nixon. Alice is an amazing student. What I love about having her as a student is she's really in tune with music theory and also into why things work the way that they do. Her question this week regards why can she project better when she's sitting up straight than maybe when she's kind of slumped over like this. So let me first start by saying that a lot of singing techniques talk a ton about breath all the time. The breath is everything. The Institute for Vocal Advancement Technique, I think we tend to emphasize what's happening at the vocal fold level most because that is where 99% of people are experiencing their problems. Most people know how to breathe pretty well. Most people have been breathing for a very long time, very successfully. With that said, there's a couple of myths regarding breathing and singing that I want to deconstruct and get out of the way really quickly before we answer Alice's question. First is that the diaphragm is everything when it comes to breathing and singing. Classical teachers always talk about how the diaphragm is the most important muscle in regards to singing. First of all, the diaphragm is a muscle of inspiration or breathing in rather than exhale, expiration, or breathing out, like singing. So automatically, we know that singing happens on the exhale, so there's more to it than just the diaphragm, which is only in charge of contracting and opening up some room in your lungs and allowing you to breathe in. So there's more happening there. The second myth that people tend to think is that everything is kind of the same as when you speak. So if it's not all about the diaphragm, then it's more about you just breathe the same as when you're speaking. Well, if you approach singing with the same amount of breath as you speak, you're going to run out of air really quickly. So I take a little breath, and it just falls out really quickly. There's not a whole lot of resistance there, and there's a little bit more breath pressure than we want. So we know that there's something else going on besides it's not just the same as speaking either. Okay, and finally, the last myth that we want to deconstruct is that, if I'm going to sing, I need to take a huge breath and really increase my breath pressure in order to sing well. Okay, in order to sing well, you don't want an increase of breath pressure in your lungs. You want a decreased amount of breath pressure in your lungs. The reason for that is if you have too much breath pressure, it's all going to pop out really fast, and you're going to be out of air and gasping for air before you're able to sing your next line. So you kind of need to work off the top of the tank. Just using that light amount of breath pressure, and what's really happening is the vocal folds are resisting that small amount of breath pressure, and you're able to create a sustained and supported tone. So, to get into Alice's question, why does she sing better when she's sitting up straight? It's because we're kind of keeping these ideal conditions for what's actually happening when you're breathing, when you sing. When you're actually breathing when you sing, if you could pretend that my top hand, my right hand, is going to be my ribs, and my bottom hand, my left hand, is going to be my diaphragm. When you inhale, you create the space in between the two. The diaphragm contracts and goes down, the ribs rise, and you have this space which fills with air in your lungs. Okay, so when you breathe out, what you have is exactly the opposite. Diaphragm relaxes, and the ribs come down, and you're out of air, and then you need to take another big breath. Makes sense so far? Okay, cool. So to get back to what we were talking about, a decreased amount of breath pressure, when you're singing, you need to have just a really controlled release of that air. So you breathe in, and then I'm singing until I'm out of air and I need to take another deep breath in. when you're slumping forward or when you're leaning back or when you're laying on the floor. Have you ever tried to sing when you're laying on the floor? It's really, really hard. And that's because you don't have a whole lot of muscular support for this really delicate balance that's happening in your voice. And that is not a good way to support a sustained singing tone. So, in recap, just as a reminder, most people are great at breathing. Most people have a harder time when it comes to things at the vocal fold level. However, posture is very, very, very important when you're singing in order to not mess with this delicate balance between the ribs and the diaphragm interacting together to create a long, sustained, beautiful tone. So I hope that this answers Alice's question. And let me know if you have another great question of the week. You can always email me at matt@octavehighereast.com. And have a great week. Take care. Bye.